there is a kind of silence that feels unsettling across the open grasslands of Nebraska. As the wind slips through the cracks of old wooden buildings and echoes off the concrete walls of long-abandoned factories, it seems to carry whispers of past ambitions that time has erased. Beneath the endless horizon of the Great Plains, people once tried to build thriving communities, creating wartime industrial towns, bustling frontier trading posts, and railroad stations filled with hope. Today, only shadows remain. These towns are gone. Some were swept away by rising rivers, some were abandoned almost overnight when the war ended, and others slowly faded into isolation. This is the journey through 15 of the quietest ghost towns ever to stand on the soil of Nebraska. First is the town widely considered Nebraska's most dramatic and iconic true ghost town. Hidden in the remote countryside of Sheridan County, Antioch was built almost overnight during World War I and earned the impressive title of the Potash Capital of America. 5 massive plants operated around the clock, extracting potash from nearby salt lakes to supply explosives. But when the war ended, the boom collapsed, and the thriving community of thousands disappeared within months. Today, Antioch presents a haunting post-industrial landscape. Massive concrete structures still rise from the barren plains like the ruins of ancient fortresses. Decaying wooden pipelines supports lean beside dry lake beds, adding to the eerie silence and reminding visitors that this place is a monument to an industrial empire that has long been reclaimed by nature. Leaving the industrial ruins of Antioch behind, we head to Jefferson County to follow the story of the pioneer town of Steele City. Much like Antioch, its landscape feels like an open-air museum frozen in time. Along its quiet dirt roads stand rows of weathered brick and limestone commercial buildings. The dusty windows of 19th century storefronts reveal empty, deteriorating interiors, creating a strong, rural Gothic atmosphere that reflects a settlement left behind by modern progress. Steele City was founded during the second half of the 19th century along the St. Joseph and Western Railroad. It eventually grew into a busy local trading center. But changes in major transportation routes and the gradual decline of agriculture slowly drained the town's population, pushing it to the edge of complete abandonment. Farther north in Knox County, the remains of the farming community of Venus sit quietly beneath thick overgrowth. This small town was once a self-sufficient agricultural settlement with its own post office, school, and local church. But without railroad access, and as younger generations moved away in large numbers, Venus was eventually abandoned for good. Today, the town offers a deeply melancholic ghost town landscape. Visitors are greeted by the remains of an old wooden church and a one-room schoolhouse whose roof has collapsed inward. The weathered wooden walls, darkened by decades of harsh weather, are surrounded by waist-high wild plants. Here, the silence feels overwhelming, broken only by the slow creak of an old door swinging in the prairie wind. Now we travel back in time along the historic Fort Kearny frontier route in Kearny County, home to the ghost town of Dobytown. During the mid-19th century, Dobytown, also known as Kearny City, was famous as a lively center of entertainment, gambling, and a rough stopover for travelers along the Oregon Trail. The town earned its name from the adobe, or mud brick, used to build many of its homes. Today, nothing remains but open farmland. Visitors to this historic site will no longer find standing buildings, only historical markers scattered across the quiet prairie. The overwhelming silence of the landscape stands in sharp contrast to the town's once noisy and lawless past. Along the banks of the Missouri River in Nemaha County lies the tragic story of St. Deroin, a town claimed by the river itself. Founded in the 1850s as a river port and trading post with Native American tribes, St. Deroin prospered during the era of steamboat traffic. But severe riverbank erosion and repeated floods gradually caused the town to collapse into the Missouri River. Today, the site lies within Indian Cave State Park. Most of the original town has been washed away beneath the river. Visitors can only find an old hillside cemetery and a reconstructed wooden schoolhouse standing quietly among the dense trees. For many, St. Deroin carries a somber atmosphere, serving as a powerful reminder of how nature can erase an entire community from the map. Leaving the quiet riverbanks of St. Deroin, we arrive at the forgotten post town of Spring Ranch. Located along the Little Blue River, Spring Ranch grew from a livestock trading post and pioneer inn into a settlement served by the railroad. But a devastating fire that destroyed its business district, combined with shifting regional trade routes, caused the town to decline rapidly until it was completely abandoned. Today, Spring Ranch is defined by the loneliness of the open prairie. The buried stone foundations of pioneer homes lie hidden beneath dry grass, while an old cemetery filled with fragile, moss-covered gravestones stands as a silent reminder of those who once lived here. It is a place where the deep stillness reflects the fate of a settlement that was once an important stop for travelers but has become little more than a forgotten ghost town. Following the Webster County corridor near the Republican River, we arrive at Amboy, a former grain milling town frozen in time. Amboy grew around the Amboy Milling Company, a water-powered mill that once served as the economic lifeline for farmers across southern Nebraska. The mill's closure and the modernization of food processing brought the settlement's prosperous years to an end. Today, Amboy preserves the badly weathered remains of early industrial wooden architecture. The old mill stands rigid beside a quiet stream, its wooden walls decaying and its rusted water wheel structure buried beneath thorny brush. Nearby homes sit empty and abandoned, creating the haunting image of a forgotten mill town surrounded by the calm Nebraska countryside. Next, a camera moving through Pauline would capture the facades of old brick and wooden commercial buildings with boarded-up windows. Pauline is a fading railroad town, where tightly locked storefronts face dirt roads that rarely see passing vehicles. The silence feels heavy, revealing how the loss of transportation links can slowly drain the life from a small community. Founded in the late 19th century as an agricultural shipping point along the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad, Pauline once had several local facilities, including a church. But as the railroad lost its strategic importance, the town entered a long cycle of severe population decline. Leaving southern Nebraska behind, we travel into the heart of Blaine County's Sandhills to visit Brewster, one of the least populated towns in the state. Brewster holds the unusual status of being a county seat with a population that has fallen to fewer than several dozen people. It presents the image of an isolated administrative town surrounded by a vast and barren landscape. Brewster carries an unmistakable sense of remoteness. A small old courthouse stands beside rows of aging wooden homes and commercial buildings, many of them now empty. Cracked, dusty roads cut through the settlement, while the immense sandhills rise around it, creating the atmosphere of a silent town struggling to survive against the harshness of nature. Moving into northern Knox County near the Niobrara River, we find the fading settlement of Verdel. It began as a railroad frontier town serving local farming and ranching communities, but the closure of the rail line stripped Verdel of its economic base, leaving only a tiny population among decaying buildings. Today, the town looks worn and exhausted. Along its main street, rows of two-story wooden storefronts stand silent, their paint blistered by years of harsh weather. Abandoned pioneer homes sit neglected, with yards overtaken by wild vegetation. Verdel feels like a dying town, quietly counting down its final years in the stillness of rural northern Nebraska. From Verdel, we continue through the shrinking agricultural town of Belvidere. Once prosperous because of its grain storage facilities and railroad stop, the town has faced steady population decline as modern farm machinery reduced the need for human labor. Its landscape now features rows of 20th century red brick commercial buildings, most of them standing empty. A massive grain elevator rises silently beside the railroad tracks, dominating the view yet surrounded by stillness. Although a small amount of activity remains among a handful of elderly residents, the abandoned corners carry the heavy sadness of a town whose agricultural glory has long since passed. Next, along the historic Lincoln Highway corridor in Keith County, we arrive at Roscoe, a former stopping point now trapped in silence. Built along the Union Pacific Railroad, Roscoe today is dominated by abandoned roadside service buildings. An old concrete gas station and wooden diner stand beneath rusted signs that sway in the prairie wind. The quiet highway beside the nearly empty railroad tracks makes Roscoe a clear example of a town left behind by transportation modernization. It once served as a cattle loading point and a stop for cross-country travelers before modern interstate highways redirected traffic elsewhere. Not far from Roscoe in Keith County, we enter the remote settlement of Keystone, seemingly frozen in history. Widely known for its unique pioneer-era Catholic-Protestant combination church, Keystone once served as a ranching center in the North Platte River Valley before its economic activity declined. Today, the town carries a quiet, rural, Gothic atmosphere. Dirt roads lined with leaning wooden fences connect old homes, most of them now empty. With no active commercial life, Keystone resembles an abandoned historical display set within the silence of the dry hills. Moving farther west into Sheridan County, we reach the neglected corners of Hay Springs. Once an important stop for ranchers and farmers across the High Plains, the town has faced structural decline as younger generations moved away and local businesses gradually closed. The old district features rows of stone and brick storefronts with doors chained from the outside. Dust-covered windows conceal the interiors of shops dating back to the 1910s that no longer operate. Despite the surrounding farmland, weathered wooden homes and neglected yards reveal the harsh reality of community decline across the rural Great Plains. Finally, we end this journey in Scottsbluff County by exploring the fading districts of Minatare. Although some residents still remain, Minatare carries the burden of regional economic hardship and shrinking public services, leaving residential and commercial areas slowly moving toward ghost town status. A camera passing through Minatare's historic corners would capture abandoned storefronts with faded retro signs. Cracked roads and empty homes left behind by their owners create a strong atmosphere of social decline. Minatare closes this journey as a real example of a small town fading beneath the rocky bluffs of western Nebraska. This exploration of 15 settlements across Nebraska offers a reflection on the changing and fragile nature of human communities on the Great Plains. Whether industrial ghost towns with old concrete ruins like Antioch, pioneer settlements washed away by rivers like St. Deroin, or fading railroad towns like Pauline and Verdel, all show that a community's survival depends heavily on the forces of time and nature. In the end, abandoned wooden and concrete structures standing across the grasslands remain powerful social monuments. They remind us that even in an age of modern progress, a prosperous place can become silent, decay, and eventually be reclaimed entirely by nature.